Hello and welcome along to the DePIN Coffee Hour. We are live. I'm going to bring in our guests in just a moment. But for now, we will just hang on for a couple more minutes and let a few more people join the stream. Okay, welcome along to the DePIN Coffee Hour. I'm your host, Neil, and this evening joining me is David from Nasana, who I will add to the stage. Hi, David. I've also got Lee from ALX Block and Tortilla from Solo Chain.
Hey.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, guys and girls. I got guys and girl. Great to have you all here. Maybe we'll just go around the house and I'll take a turn at telling our kind of, I suppose, our DePIN backstory and how you got into DePIN, what's your journey to here? Were you in crypto first? What kind of way did you get into it all? And yeah, maybe if you want to start, David, then Lee, and then 30. Yeah, that's just going around the clock on my screen. So,
okay, yeah,
have a crack.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is David. I work at Nosana. I do developer relations for Nosana. That means I get to spread the message about Nosana and teach people how to use our product. I own the documentation, so every time that you go to docs.nosana.com, you can read my writing. I started out in blockchain quite a while ago. I think I've been in the space for about 10 years or so. I went back to school to study software engineering to kind of understand a bit better how we started using software to create digital scarcity. I was just completely enamored with the space. And at a certain point, got an internship within the space and eventually moved over to Nosana to help build out the decentralized marketplace for GPUs where you can run AI inference. And I'm sure we'll go into that a bit later about how that works and what those different terminologies entail.
Sure thing. Thanks, David. Lee, do you want to give us a little taste of your backstory?
Yeah, hello everyone. Great to be here, sipping some virtual coffee with all of you guys, the leaders in DePIN, I think. I'm excited to chat with all you, David, Thorina, and Neil. Actually, my background is from Web2. as working as a project manager and a CMO for the data provider for data training. And then we built a comprehensive platform and then we moved to the comprehensive platform for the client to label and annotate the data. From that time, we realized the big issues in the AI or training, like we need the compute when we realized all on the centralized resources like the Oracle, Amazon, or Azure or something. And then we need the data set as well when we have to rely on our old company like the data provider. And that's why we think that when we have a comprehensive platform for the AI builders, but we tap into the decentralized resources, not limit to not compute, but also the data set and the human labelers and also the pre-trained models and data sets, we will allow users to access like the advanced technology with the cost savings. And it's like we make the advanced technology for everyone, not the big players in the industry. That's why we move how we move from like the Web 2 company into the Web 3 and tap into the DePIN. Like, yeah, and that's it from my side. I think that Tarela can share something about your background.
That's great, thank you. Tortilla, you want to tell us about how you got into DePIN? You're on mute. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Technology, huh?
Yeah. So sorry again, guys. So I'm more on the DeFi side of the things. Actually, I'm new to DePIN, and actually, when I look back, it was too early to talk about the DePIN side of the things. You know, I'm crypto native. I'm in the space for quite a long time, and my main skill is working with early stage companies. I had chance to work with early stage companies in Web 2, and then now fully focused on Web 3, which is gonna be the ultimate solution for the next years. And DePIN is, I think it is 2025 is a great year to talk about DePIN, because we have mature enough markets on the DeFi side, like our volume and the entire DeFi is highly competitive. We have a lot of different tools and investment instruments compared to the traditional finance. And now it is time to decentralize or democratize the infrastructure that actually has real physical existence. We are on the surface, on the digital side of the things, on the on-chain side of the things. We made a great progress, and now I think it's great to see that we are now democratizing the real backbone of the entire networks. There are too many different networks, and they are all powered by real devices producing GPU, CPU, and we have the data, incredible amount of data we are processing every day, and they are stored in devices. And now it's time to create an environment more democratic for everyone, and it's more decentralized. So I'm looking forward to talk more about the DePIN. I'm sure there's a lot of things I'll learn from you guys about the DePIN.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I'm a little bit with you on that one. For me, when I read Satoshi's white paper, and it was the thing that clicked with me was when I got to the point like, oh, I get it now. It's not about money. It's about control, censorship, power basically, and like you said, democratization of basically decentralization. It's the power of decentralization over centralized, actors that have basically like not got everybody's best interest at heart, and just the absolute havoc that can cause. So I'm very much aligned there in terms of the decentralized side. I think one of the things that's super interesting about DePIN is how broad it is, right? Because you've got like Masana, you guys are like GPU, intensive AI kind of, decentralization, let's say, to enable that. But then you've got like the training data. You've got all of these different threads, that compose DePIN. Do you see a world where, I suppose this is kind of around the question table again, or around the table question rather. Do you see a world where we have total decentralization, where like Azure or like AWS or Google or whomever, like is competitive, like is competing basically against a sort of a every man in their spare computer power? Do you think that that's a realistic future?
Yeah, good question. The way I personally look at it and the way we look at it at Nosana is that right now we're not competitive at all. They are the incumbents, right? They've completely dominated the space. They've built out the infrastructure for the past 30 years or so in order to get to where they are right now. And so they're very deeply entrenched. Oftentimes you hear that AWS controls about 80% of internet traffic. And so in that sense, it is a very big leap to imagine that DePIN can potentially disrupt the space. But when we look at the pricing of the services that are being offered by DePIN projects, I do think that there is a lot of potential that we can truly disrupt the space, because at Nosana, we're an order of magnitude cheaper compared to what you can get at AWS. So in that sense, as we slowly but surely keep growing out, I don't think we're going to phase out centralized powers completely, but I can imagine at a certain point, AWS and other incumbents will start incorporating DePIN protocols within their infrastructure as well in order to provide cheaper services for their clients as well. So we just have to keep building, and we have to slowly but surely create a more equitable ecosystem for all of us. And unfortunately, that's going to include centralized powers as well.
No, I'm the one with the mute mic. It's impossible to completely get rid of centralization, and I think the two should probably coexist. David, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about Nosana and like what the mission is there?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, Nosana is a decentralized GPU marketplace. So we built out Nosana when we started to realize that with the whole hype train of ChatGPT, when ChatGPT came onto the scene, it was immediately apparent that AI had taken the step where it was usable for consumers. So in that sense, we noticed as well that there was a huge GPU shortage happening within the market. NVIDIA wasn't able to manufacture enough GPUs to keep up with the demand. All of a sudden, Meta, Facebook, Google, all of the incumbents were just completely buying up the whole supply chain of GPUs in order to kind of fill in this need that they were seeing in order to run AI models on their infrastructure. So that made it extremely expensive as well to buy GPU compute. GPU compute is absolutely necessary. It's the lifeblood of running all of these AI models. By happenstance, the way that we render polygons for games is also applicable for the way that we run AI models. So it just kind of happened that consumer GPUs were within a niche within the industry where they were cheaper compared to the enterprise GPUs that were being bought. There was an excessive amount of consumer compute that was available in the market, and we tapped into that market in order to make that available for all companies that are building out their AI products and features, in order for them to buy cheap GPU compute so that they can run their inferences relatively cheaply. Inference, by the way, is anytime that you talk to ChatGPT, anytime that ChatGPT generates an output, anytime that you try to generate an image, that's what we call inference. It's the technical term that's used within the industry, but that's what we're focusing on. The moment that you run the model and it generates an output for you, we think that's going to be the market that's going to keep on growing for the foreseeable future. It used to cost $200 million, for example, to train a model such as Llama 3 or GPT-4. But even though that's still going to be a quite significant market going forward, because training models is also very important to get to a point where we have these coherent models that don't hallucinate, that can reason, that can generate high quality output. We think more and more inference is going to happen for the foreseeable decades. So that's why we're focusing on that market specifically, and trying to make all kinds of integrations happen as well, from running your AI models decentrally, from having smart contracts that initiates inferences decentrally from within a GPU compute provider such as Nosana. So we're really trying to lay out the infrastructure needed in order for all of these decentralized applications to even achieve more features and power that compared to what we've seen up until now.
Yeah, I mean, Dom, our chairman, is always he always says that seemingly a consumer at the moment can buy an NVIDIA chip for a lot cheaper than an enterprise can with a similar amount of AI processing power, let's say. So I think, yeah, like that's really good. That's really good news to my mind, at least for sort of like decentralizing it for Havelo users who are using Nosana, for example. Lee, what are your thoughts in terms of the centralization versus decentralization, and how do you think, I guess as well, if you want to talk about your guys' mission in terms of what you're trying to achieve and like where you guys want to be in 5 years, what's the big picture goal? And
yeah, thank you for your question. First, for the question that what I think about the decentralized and centralized things that happening right now, I think that I'm kind of like a big believer in the decentralization trend at the moment, because as I can see that there's a lot of great project based on the aim to decentralize, like not only AI but everything. When we try to empower the community to make something really big and take the power from the tech giants. That what I think of the decentralized at the moment. For the AIX block, we are kind of like on the same movement. That's why we build the product, because come from the root of the Web2 company. We already have the comprehensive AI development platform that we allow the AI builders to build any AI model from the scratch, or even AI adopter, where they just can take the pre-trained model to fine-tune and deploy on our platform. And also we have a multi-AI agent that allow the non-tech builder just to drag and drop on our platform. But the thing is, the pain point of any builder or AI adopter is about the compute cost and the data set cost. That's why when we built the AIX block, we decided to not rely on the centralized of the like Azure or AWS, but we integrate and partner with the great partner like Nosana to integrate the compute supply into our platform. That's way we allow users to tap into decentralized compute resources at like fractional of cost. That all we can see. And the second thing is when it comes to the AI building and AI development, the beauty of the decentralized is we allow AI builder to distribute on distributed nodes. That means that the big model can be separated into smaller pieces and trained on different nodes. That guarantee that they can train on the huge model without latency or speed or something. We all know that decentralized face the challenge of latency, but I think that the problem is just for now, currently, but it doesn't mean that it will not happen or we cannot make it in the future. For now, it works really well with the small models or gaming or rendering the video or something. But with the development of the DePIN at the moment, more and more data centers come with us. We all know that even IO.net or Akash or Nosana, maybe we have to partner with the data centers where we have more stable and high quality enterprise class GPU for the models. And when we have more supplies, we can guarantee for the AI builders to really believe in the decentralized network to build their models without worrying about the latency or something. And it's cheap. There's more and more startups and more founders and individuals or developers need that kind of thing to build their own product. Like for now, I think that all the amazing product is on the big hand and we cannot do it. And we are on the movement that we hope and we aim that we can build a place that can allow even like with really tight budget to build their dream with AI. That's our big goal.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Tortilla, what about yourself and your team?
Let's me unmute first. And yeah, thanks guys. It's great to hear, listen to you. And yeah, first I want to start with the from the decentralization part. First of all, how we started, how we are doing. So there's an interesting something I listened at an event in Singapore, and the latest Token 2049 event. And someone said right now there is 50 million digital nomad in the world. 50 million digital nomad, and it is doubling up in next 5 years, which is going to be 100 million. And for example, probably all we are here, like I can just get a ticket, fly to another country, and I keep working. It is completely fine. And most of the people since pandemic, they start online. They work online. They can do the things online. Everything can be done online. So everything is being digital. So when we consider this, that we will have few 100 million digital people in the world. So this is a bigger population than Turkey, Italy, Germany, England. And think about that. An average Web3 guy or someone who has some digital skills and working remotely, they are making minimum 50K a year, right? Minimum. There's if he's a developer, I'm sure he's making like 100K or maybe 200. But even if we consider someone making over 50K and we consider 100 million population, this is a GDP bigger than Italy, California, almost. I think California is or Canada. So it is definitely among the top 10 economy in the world. So, and first considering this, and then let's also consider that when you just walk on the street, you see people, everyone has phone on their hands. they keep producing. They interacting with other people constantly. They watch videos. They create different videos with AI. And when you think about past, like 5 years ago, we had simple primitive filters on Instagram. You just put some make little changes on your face, and it's funny. We had fun with that primitive filters, and now we have AI tools. It creates a very highly generic, unbelievable videos or anything. You can create anything just with your mobile phone. But of course, if you must understand that these small videos or content that an average person working at a grocery store, but have his phone on the hand and creating these content or interacting with this content, consuming these content all day, this requires a massive computation power. We really need a massive GPU, CPU on the back end. We really need servers. We need computing power. So it is going up parabolic, like every day. Even probably your grandma or your 60 years old mom, they use interesting apps on their phones, like, and they actually use GPU every day. I don't think my mom was using that much GPU like 10 years ago, or she didn't need computing power because of her daily habits. But today she talks with her daughter on the phone, and she actively uses her phone, and it is getting a point that we everything is so digital, and we have an incredible amount of computing units, processing power we actually have to put up with. And when we consider also the RWA narrative, I think most people think when we talk about RWA, they think, oh, RWA, real world asset, tokenization of real world asset. This is we tokenize houses, we tokenize hotels. No, actually, we are gonna tokenize these DePIN assets. And think about that. For example, 10 years ago, Google Maps, Google has its own cars with a lot of camera on it and driving around to collect data and picture, right? And now today, just an average electric car has too many sensor and camera around it. So Google doesn't have to specifically build some cars and pay some people to drive around and collect data. Like, you can actually do it with just a random people driving their own cars around. But of course, you should be motivating them, so they will be collecting data. They will be sending these data to servers, and the servers will be processing that. We have to put them in a storage, and then if there is a need for that data, someone will make a request for that data. So we have to create a system infrastructure that who is gonna supply these data, who is gonna be responsible for the storage part, who is gonna be responsible for producing competition power, and who is gonna have access to these data. And thankfully, we have the blockchain networks completely decentralized, so we can grant access to people who has a certain tokens, and we can tokenize all these DePIN assets. We can tokenize all these data. We can tokenize everything. That's a great solution for the future. And when we consider all these things, I'm highly optimistic about the DePIN's future. And this is why we are working on Solo Chain. So what we do on Solo Chain is, it's super chain. It's like it's like optimism, but it's layer 3 network, specifically designed for DePIN assets, and specifically designed for the projects with the DePIN assets. We have extra features specifically tailored for the these tokenized DePIN assets. We have transaction mining, agentic mining, mine.fun type of different features. This is why we focus on the projects with the DePIN assets. And yeah, I like to stop here a bit. And if you have any other question, like, let me take from there.
Yeah, I mean, I just to double click a little bit. What is it specifically, I suppose, that you need to have in a, or like, what is it that you guys have developed to make the chain specific for DePIN assets rather than just, building I don't know, but adapting something else that already exists, I suppose. Like, is it a specific thing that makes Solo Chain more useful for DePIN?
I'll just put the small notes on the side for myself. So we have different features. You can also read them on the documentation page. Like, we have transaction mining, DePIN mining. These two are essential part of the Solo Chain. So DePIN mining feature allows other projects that has deployed on Solo Chain, so that you can create a portfolio of different DePIN assets, and then we also have the AI agents coming into place, and you can stake this portfolio, and you can also restake this portfolio with Solo token. And we have also there's also we have the staking, restaking options for the DePIN assets, and we also work on AI solutions to optimize the portfolio. So there are some DePIN assets performing better than the others. So the AI model is to adjust the balance between them. If there's a better performing DePIN assets, then the AI model increase the share of these DePIN assets in the portfolio. So you can do it manually, or you can do it with our AI models. This is what we imagine on Solo Chain. And as Lee also mentioned about this, it's gonna be a world where anyone can contribute or invest in DePIN assets, like even with a small fraction of a DePIN asset. And it's not something we think this would be good if we build it. It's like, this is gonna happen for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome. Actually, I'm definitely going to have to dig in a bit more to what you guys are doing, because it's a relatively new project for me, which is a reflection on me, by the way, not a reflection on what you're doing. There's just a lot of stuff happening in DePIN, it feels like, at the moment, even though it feels like we're very early in the DePIN space, I think, although sure Helium would disagree with that, but so
early. It is definitely early. When I remember, like 10 years ago, I was in San Francisco, and all these, the Postmate, Grubhub, and DoorDash, all these companies, Uber Eats, that there was not even a Uber Eats. They didn't start their food delivery, and they were all new companies. And back then, when I tell someone about this, you can order food or anything to your door. These services were not available on other US cities. And now, even in an emerging country, in a average size city, you can order anything, grocery, food, anything to your doorstep.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Just a quick piece of housekeeping to anybody who's tuned in. If you would like to ask any questions to the guests, please feel free to add a comment to the live chat. We are monitoring those, and we will ask any questions that are worth asking that we see. So just to switch tack a little bit, I read during the week a couple of days ago that it's kind of an opinion piece about regulation and DePIN, and now that we have, or well, now that the world, I suppose, but mostly America, has a new, a sort of a new look to the SEC, that there's an opportunity to create regulation for DePIN. There's been talk of regulation around AI and stuff like that. And without wanting to get too deep into the weeds, I was just curious about what you guys think about just regulation generally, I suppose, and how it might affect what we're all doing in DePIN. Do you think it's going to have an impact in your guys' projects? Do you think it should? Do you think we need it? And again, we'll just go around the table again. So David first, if you don't mind, and then Lee, and then Tortilla.
I think regulation on some hand is a good thing. It provides clarity on how companies should work, how we should slowly but surely keep on integrating the masses, because that's where we're heading towards. I think especially when you're onboarding 1 billion people, it helps to have some clarity on how these protocols should operate going forward. So I don't think it's only going to come from government regulation, but also software license agreements in between companies. Right now, we have smart contracts that kind of regulate how, in our case, the GPU operators that we call hosts, how we interact with them. But at a certain point, we have had clients that ask us, okay, but for example, I have a specific license with this company in order to use this software. How is that going to work when we run our software on your GPU operator that is somewhere in North Korea, for example? There are these rules that are already in place that aren't even necessarily targeted towards DePIN protocols that we need to kind of make sure that we comply with. But I think regulation can be a good thing as well, in the sense of limiting meme tokens, limiting all of the scams that are happening within the space. So I do think it's highly needed. And I think, if anything, markets like a little bit of stability. They like when things are predictable. And right now, it's a little bit of a free-for-all, and it really affects everyone that is involved in the space, and the slow growth that we would all like to see happen, instead of these huge fluctuations that happen, that oftentimes results in a lot of startups being completely eliminated, because all of a sudden there aren't any funds more available for them to keep on building their projects. For example, with Nosana, it's taken a lot of effort to get to this point. It's taken a lot of capital to get to this point. And it's nice to have a little bit of clarity on how we should operate and what kind of business models will be tolerated within certain jurisdictions. But that also kind of means, right, that there will probably be certain jurisdictions have mining operators that are operating within the space, where it's cheaper, where it's permitted to run certain kinds of software, and probably that way we can kind of distribute then how certain kinds of compute happen within certain jurisdictions.
Awesome, thanks. Lee, do you want to?
Okay. I think that there's always like two sides of the coin. I can see, because when it comes to regulation, I can see that if we have clear regularity on the framework, that can help them gain more trust with the big enterprises, because now they are all, the big name always worry about the security, the privacy, the data, what's the heck is going on the black box inside of the DePIN. And I think that definitely the thing that a regulation can help. And another thing is when it will help with the incentive or the credibility will have the project can have the more clear roadmap with the incentive. But I think at the same time with the incentive, I don't think that regulation will be surely aware of the tokenomics in the Web3. I think that this is a long journey when it comes to regularity with the tokenomics. And yeah, that's the two things that I can see with the regulation at the moment.
Yeah, and I think I also agree with her. Like regulations are gonna fall behind because, and there's a catch here. So there's two things I see with the DePIN things. So first thing is they are real world assets. So you must have a factory where you produce chips, which is mostly in Taiwan, right? And they have to be transported to US or Europe. So you can just control the supply chain of these real world assets like the chips and stuff. So governments can control it by doing it this way. And the second thing is the energy. All the DePIN assets, they require they work with electricity, right? So you must have a proper energy grid. You must have enough supply, which is possible on in developed countries or emerging countries in some specific areas in the world. So this is also another way for governments to control it. They can control the supply of the electricity for the DePIN assets. So the regulations are not the concern. I think that they will be, and the nature of the Web3 is decentralization, so they are not gonna be super effective. But I think these 2 points, the electricity, energy supply, and these supply chain of these assets are gonna be playing a bigger role.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of interject as well, like the point about enterprise as well, I think that's a really important one as well. We don't necessarily see it yet. There are smaller projects that are doing it, but for example, with cell towers, right now you have Helium, for example, which is also a DePIN project in the sense that they provide 5G networks, and you have then these 5G antenna operators that supply internet then to a specific area. But I can very easily imagine when there's more regulation that enterprise will also start entering into the space and provide where they can start growing their network using DePIN protocols. So for example, AT&T, they would want to expand their operations. Instead of owning all of the infrastructure, they would then onboard network operators to help them grow out their network. So regulation in that sense can also really help then enterprise companies grow even larger and potentially also merge with other DePIN projects as we go forward. And with the point about electricity as well, that's also very important. We also noticed that a lot of people are trying to use renewable energy sources in order to power these DePIN networks and to sell compute then to the market in a way that they're able to generate more profit compared to selling their energy locally. So it's really interesting to see on how this whole arbitrage is happening around the world as well. And I think it's going to take a long time as well for regulation to catch up. with just the decentralized, borderless systems that we're building. It's maybe within certain jurisdictions, such as the EU, you do have a pretty large area that is being controlled at the moment. But for example, with Nosana, we have node operators all across the world. So in that sense, that does make it a lot more difficult to, how do you regulate such a thing? It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, 100%.
Europe is gonna be the first regulating it.
Yeah, that's true. We really love to regulate things in Europe, no doubt. I actually I was at a fintech a fintech event in Ireland a couple of months ago, and they said it was something like America innovates, China replicates, and the EU regulates. That was the sort of one word status on each major jurisdiction, let's say. So I'm not sure how I feel about that actually, but yeah, it's I suppose it's a double-edged sword.
When you see banking regulations within the EU, that has managed to standardize a lot of things among banks, and so in that sense, in the last couple of years, you've been able to see a lot of financial innovation happening within the space, where you have new banks that are coming onto the market providing e-banking services that were not possible before. You have Revolut, for example, that is completely dominating the market. You don't have to be physically present within the country itself to open up a banking account. And the way that the money is being transferred in between bank accounts, it also there's been a huge boom within that space. So I think that regulation also helps sometimes create clarity and standardize the standardization necessary in order for communication and transfer of value to happen in between different entities.
Yeah, that is actually really a good example, and it's just a pity that there seems to be as many when it comes to technology. There seems to be bad examples that maybe match or come close to matching examples. But I think, the transfer of money with the instant transfer of money, like Revolut offered, and it sort of forced the banking system's hand, I think, to introduce things like instant SEPA, which is amazing, by the way. But unfortunately, it's not everywhere yet. But yeah, I think having been in the last 6 weeks, it's certainly a lot easier to send money at home than it seems to be to access it and to move it around over here. I'm just going to answer a question that somebody asked. It's a Havelo question. Do you think that a Havelo node operator is profitable? I'm not sure exactly what they're supposed to be more profitable than. But do I think a Havelo node operator can be profitable? Absolutely. I think it's a the thing to remember about profitability and Havelo, at least at the moment, is that Havelo's still in beta. We added Nosana to the platform, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's about a month ago.
Yeah, and it can be very profitable if you've got a Windows machine and a decent GPU. But look at this is the very, very start of a very long journey, is the way that I look at it. This year our intention is to have 50 DePIN networks available. It depends. The equation of profitability for DePIN mining at the moment, especially and Havelo ultimately is an aggregator, right? So what that equation looks like is you've got like every DePIN network, and then you've got Havelo, which sits there kind of going, okay, these are the most profitable ones for you to mine based on your hardware configuration, based on your network configuration, based on your geography, because in some cases, you need to be close to the place where the data is coming from. So there's a number of variables there, and like our goal at Havelo is to aggregate everything so that no matter who you are or where you are or what your spec is, what your computer is, how computer literate you are. So in other words, we don't expect our users to be able to set up port forwarding on their router, for example, and things like that some networks need. We literally just want people to be able to install a little application and let it run 24 hours a day, and don't pay for your electricity anymore or something like that. So I think the average home user is never going to be making a second income, like a second full-time wage from it, or at least not in the developed world, maybe in the developing world. But certainly, our goal is to try and get to the $20 to $300 a month in terms of revenue, and that's from essentially Airbnb-ing your PC. So, in other words, having something running in the background while you're using your PC and while you're asleep. So yeah, that's kind of. I hope that answers that question.
That also makes me really excited about the space, is how we're also decentralizing equity, right? So we've seen for the past couple of decades how a lot of these different projects have been able to amass vast amounts of capital and wealth within their enterprises. And now anyone in the world can participate in the growth of this economy that we're creating. So when you think about Alphabet and how huge they are, all of that wealth isn't just going to be amassed into Sergey Brin's pockets anymore. Like, everybody can be able to participate and grow and also earn a little bit with the growth of this new economy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's interesting. It's interesting to see. Like when I think about it, I really what kind of gets me excited is the idea that we could reach a point with DePIN where people are able to contribute in some way, whatever way that is. Depends on the network and what they're interested in and their level of technical expertise, obviously. But I get really excited when I think about the fact that, like, we all may be able to reach a point in the future where you can essentially contribute in, whether it's running Havelo or some other way of contributing, and earn something from that could offset essentially like all the costs of your living, or even if it's just your electricity, or for a student even if it's just beer. It's essentially I think just anything that's I suppose I just like anything that I feel kind of redistributes wealth in a more sort of equitable manner, just to sort of lean into what you said, David.
I have a question for you, Lee, if I may. I was wondering, how does AI Xblock incentivize its node operators? What kind of mechanisms do you have to make sure that your node operators stay active on the AI Xblock project?
Yeah, actually, that at the moment, AI Block has not bring on chain yet, but we do have the really clear plan on how we can incent like reward the contributors for sure. We based on their firstly their quality of the GPU, because the AI we build for AI models, so we really want to make sure that they provide the high quality GPU for the AI models, and it will not stop. Like, there's a lot of nodes, they stop at the moment, and then it will affect on the AI training, and based on all the quality and the numbers of hours that they spend, for sure. Firstly, the AI block not only make the reward for the contributors by our tokens, but also they make money from the buyers as well. We connect the buyers as AI builders to the suppliers. So they earn money through AIS block platform, and we tokenize all the country. We count every contributions of the node operators, and then we make sure that it's another incentive for the node operators on our platform. So it's just like the two income streams to the node operators.
Interesting. And Tortilla, for Solo, you mentioned these different things such as transaction mining, DePIN mining. Do you have any mechanisms to kind of ensure that to keep people operating on the network? Do you also notice there's some transition in between how people choose to mine on Solo compared to moving their machines to other projects?
Yeah, actually, our first product is the transaction mining. So it is the main idea behind the transaction mining model is we are inspired by Bitcoin actually, because when you look at the Bitcoin, you just get rewarded by mining it. And right now, when you look at the market, there are too many different projects. They offer airdrops. They have the bonding curve and too many different approaches for a token launch, right? But the best solution so far is the one Bitcoin has. It's the mining. You just mine and you get rewarded as much as you mine. So what we basically do with the transaction mining future is creating a protocol environment where the projects with the DePIN assets, they can set it up. They can set up for users, and users will be interacting and using the chain and interacting with these DePIN assets, and they will be earning the tokens as much as they contribute. So this is the our flagship product actually.
No, no, interesting. I do remember Bitcoin being a little bit of a how did they mention it? It's a bit of a lottery, right? So in the sense you mine the blocks, and depending on how much you mine, then you get a certain amount of tickets, and sometimes you get lucky and you have the ticket for that specific block and you mine. But I can imagine indeed, like what you're trying to say is like the more compute you provide, the more you're able to earn.
Yeah, it's and it also comes to another cool protocol or feature, let's say mine.fun. You know, it's gonna be like pump.fun. We have the pump.fun. We had enough fun with it on Solana, and now we will have mine.fun. So you can just mine different tokens as much as you contribute. And yeah, this is what we are working on right now. We are still on testnet, and we are planning to launch on mainnet in before the end of Q1, but it's probably it's gonna be the mid before the mid Q2, because of the it takes more time to build these features. But yeah, we are working on them right now, still on testnet. And happy to onboard your tokenized DePIN assets on Solar Chain, of course.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Nosano was built on Solana, so we would need to see how we can kind of move part of our infrastructure then to Solo in order to incorporate it as well.
And what's the motivation of building on Solana, guys? Because I'm more on the EVM side. I have always been on EVM side. What's the motivation?
Yeah, at the time it was mainly the costs of doing transactions. Transactions on Solana are relatively cheap compared to Ethereum. I know right now you have other layer 2 projects where it's also very cheap to do transactions. But the way that we envisioned Nosana was that you would have these short compute jobs. And in that sense, it really made a difference then to make sure that each transaction cost was as low as possible in order to increase the profit for our node operators. And at the time as well, we were building our project. Solana was very focused on developers. Their developer community was growing, um, um, growing a lot at the time, and that also made it very appealing to us in order to target our core demographic that we were trying to reach and that we're still trying to reach, developers to help build their projects on Musana. And now as well, we're seeing the rise of AI agents, as you all know, where we're imagining a world as well where all of these AI agents that are running on chain and that they have their own token can also pay for their own compute. So in that sense, an AI agent, all it needs to do is do a simple swap, and then all of a sudden it'll have NOS tokens and it can buy compute for itself. So really imagining we're slowly but surely kind of letting go of this traditional infrastructure of like how you pay for compute and how we'll see more and more value flowing into DePIN projects.
I hope so, because I feel like we've, we haven't really had an alt season at all this bull run yet, and with I guess it seems like the previous cycles, the kind of model there, or the way that value flows, let's say, from Bitcoin down to projects, doesn't seem to have happened yet, at least. So just as the last question, and we will wrap because we've already been the hour, but do you guys a world where, like, or is it, do you think we're going to do you think DePIN has the power to completely decouple, like, let's call altcoins from from the traditional utility token cycle that we've seen ourselves in, like in previous cycles, where we don't need Bitcoin necessarily to go on a parabolic run before anything else gets any sort of time in the sunshine? Or do you think, because I just see so much more utility in DePIN, so I kind of feel like, again, this is my personal opinion, I just was kind of hoping to take the temperature in the room. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's the DePIN assets. As they are classified as a RWA, they have great potential in terms of token value. They actually generate a revenue, or they generate, they produce some real utility, like computing power or something we actually use. So this is why the companies projects with DePIN assets and interaction with DePIN assets, they will definitely be their tokens, or at least will have a value, and they will be generating revenue. So it's gonna be a good supporting motivation for the utility tokens, I think, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, good question. So we're in it for the long run. We do think that utility token prices will keep on increasing as more demand comes on board. But yeah, in the sense, Bitcoin also provides a utility, right? And in the sense that it can hold value. And I also think there's a lot of brand trust that goes into Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been operating for so long. In a sense, it's the original DePIN network, right? In a sense, but it's weird to call it a DePIN network, but it does. With all of these newer projects, for example, with Musana, we still need to build up the reputation that the network can operate by itself, that it can operate without the Musana corporate entity. And in a sense, it is a public resource in that sense. Anyone can come and build on Musana without the need of the Musana company. But we are its custodians, and we do put in a lot of effort in order to protect our brand, to onboard clients, to couple demand with supply to keep on growing our project. And I can imagine as well, as we go forward, as we build more trust and reputation with our community, at certain points, it'll really start reaching new heights as well. And just as all of these newer projects also need to kind of earn the trust of the crypto community, because as many of us know, there are a lot of scams out there as well. The rug pull has become a generic term these days. So slowly but surely, I think we're going to get there, yes.
Yeah, I think that David and Tila has already told us everything that I have on mind as well. I am a big believer on token utility of the DePIN project, but to me, I'm not so sure. What about you? But I think that the DePIN definition can be expanded more than just physical access, something like that, because the main core idea is about decentralized resources. Maybe the definition can expand to something like data sets or something, or human labelers or something, not just like compute or Wi-Fi or something that we need this physical access. And because the DePIN definition is all like defined by the community. So I think that the community will define another term when we make sure that the project, and we can earn more trust from not only community but also the enterprise and the bigger, like outside of the crypto community. And then that's the way we will make sure that all the project gain the real revenue, gain real traction, and the token utility is just the results that we will get there, and that's it.
All right. Final words goes to Lee. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll post in the thread on this on X. We'll post all the links for everybody so that you can go check out more about each of our guests, what they're up to in terms of their projects and their X profiles and all that kind of thing. Appreciate if you give everybody a follow. That would be great. So yeah, just a big, huge thank you to you all. And I guess until next week, that's it for us, guys.
Thanks
Thank
for.
you. Have a
Thank you
good
very much,
day.
Leo. Thank you, Theo. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, guys.